Welcome to Long Story Spoken.
Long stories, spoken simply.
Welcome back to Long Story Spoken, the podcast where we dive deep into fascinating books with people who truly love them. I'm your host, Katie, and today we're taking on a topic that, honestly, is a bit new territory for me: Bitcoin. And who better to guide us than our resident bookworm and Bitcoin enthusiast, Luke. Welcome, Luke.
Thanks for having me, Katie. I'm really excited to chat about this one. Gigi's 21 Lessons, What I've Learned from Falling Down the Bitcoin Rabbit Hole, is a book that genuinely changed how I see the world. It's not just about money. It's about so much more.
I can tell. Your eyes just lit up. For our listeners who, like me, might be a bit new to the whole Bitcoin scene, this book sounds like a great starting point. Before we jump in, a quick heads up. If you're curious about this book and want to check it out, you can find an affiliate link in the description below. It helps support the show.
Absolutely. It's a must-read for anyone who wants to go beyond the headlines and understand what Bitcoin really is.
All right, Luke, let's start at the beginning. The book is structured into 3 main parts, and the first one is all about philosophy. That sounds pretty heavy for a digital currency. Can you break down what Gigi means by that?
It might sound heavy, but Gigi makes it super accessible. He argues that Bitcoin isn't just technology, it's a new philosophy. The first lesson in this part is immutability and change, and it's a huge concept. Basically, Bitcoin, once its core design was released, was set in stone. You can't really change it. Think of it like this. If you have a rulebook for a game and everyone agrees on it, changing that rulebook later is incredibly hard because everyone has to agree again. With Bitcoin, the rules are baked in. Gigi says, you won't change Bitcoin, but Bitcoin will change you. It's a humbling thought, right? It made me realize how much I had taken for granted about how things work in the world.
So, it's not like a software update where a company just decides to change things. That's quite radical. It sounds like Bitcoin has a mind of its own in a way.
Exactly. And that leads us to the second lesson, the scarcity of scarcity. We live in a world where technology usually makes things more abundant, right? Like phones become cheaper and food production gets more efficient. But Bitcoin is different. It's an advanced technology that creates true scarcity. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins, and that's it. No one can print more. It's paradoxical because Bitcoin is all about copying transactions, are copied. The ledger is copied everywhere. But all that copying actually helps enforce this absolute scarcity. It's like having a digital rare gem that can't be duplicated or devalued by printing more.
That's a mind-bender. So, it's scarce because of its design, not because it's physically rare. Which brings us to the next point, replication and locality. If there's no physical Bitcoin, where are my Bitcoins? That's a question I've definitely had.
Great question, and it's super tricky. Gigi explains that Bitcoins aren't in any one physical place. They're essentially entries on a massive distributed ledger that's copied everywhere. Think of your emails. They're in the cloud, which is just someone else's computer. But even then, you could, in theory, track down the servers. With Bitcoin, it's different. There are no physical Bitcoins. What you actually own are your private keys, these magic words that let you move those entries on the ledger. It's a shift from thinking about a physical object to understanding a digital record and the key to control it. It taught me that locality in the digital world is a really complex idea.
That makes sense, in a very abstract way. It's like owning the signature to a vault, rather than the gold itself. What's next in the philosophical deep dive?
Next is the problem of identity. This one gets a bit philosophical, relating to the ship of Theseus paradox. You replace every part of a ship. Is it still the same ship? Bitcoin faces similar questions, especially when there are forks, meaning the network splits. Which Bitcoin is the real Bitcoin? Gigi argues that decentralization makes it so there's no central authority to say which is which. The market ultimately decides. It highlights how cutting-edge technology forces us to grapple with these ancient philosophical questions.
So, the community decides, not a central company or government. That's powerful, and what about an immaculate conception? That sounds almost spiritual.
It is, in a way. This lesson is about Bitcoin's origin story, specifically the anonymity of its creator, Satoshi Nakamoto. Satoshi released Bitcoin, made sure it was stable, and then vanished. Gigi emphasizes that this anonymity is crucial for Bitcoin's decentralization. There's no single person or group to prosecute, blackmail, or influence, which means no central control. It's like a technology that was born without a central parent, making it truly resilient. It really made me think about how narratives or origin stories are so important for survival, especially for an idea like Bitcoin.
That's fascinating. A ghost creator. What about the power of free speech? How does that connect to Bitcoin?
This one is brilliant. Gigi explains that Bitcoin, at its core, is just text. The white paper is text, the software is text, transactions are text, and text, Gigi argues, is equivalent to speech. In a free society, if speech is protected, then Bitcoin is incredibly difficult to stop or criminalize. It's essentially an idea being exchanged through text messages globally. It's a powerful point. As long as there's freedom of speech, Bitcoin can thrive. It teaches us that free speech and free software, when combined, are unstoppable.
That's a powerful defense of Bitcoin's existence, linking it to fundamental rights. And the last philosophical lesson.
The final lesson in this part is the limits of knowledge. Gigi says that getting into Bitcoin is a humbling experience. You might think you know a lot about computer science or economics, but the deeper you go into Bitcoin, the more you realize how much you don't know. It touches on so many complex fields: cryptography, game theory, monetary history, network theory. The rabbit hole is truly bottomless. It teaches you humility and that understanding Bitcoin requires a multidisciplinary approach.
Wow, that's a lot to chew on for just the philosophical side. It sounds like the book really challenges your preconceptions. Let's move on to part 2, which focuses on economics. This is where most people probably think Bitcoin lives. What are some of the key economic lessons?
This section is crucial because it explains why Bitcoin is needed. The first lesson mentioned is financial ignorance. While the book doesn't explicitly detail it, the general theme is that many of us are financially ignorant about how traditional money and banking systems work. Gigi then dives into inflation. We all know about inflation, where your money buys less over time. Gigi highlights that traditional currencies are designed to be inflationary, but Bitcoin is different. Because of its fixed supply of 21 million, it will eventually eliminate inflation entirely. It's a stark contrast to government-issued currencies that can be printed endlessly.
So, Bitcoin is designed to fight against that constant loss of purchasing power that we experience with regular money. What about value? How does Bitcoin teach us about that?
Gigi suggests that Bitcoin's value is rooted in its inherent scarcity and the network's agreement. It's not just about what someone is willing to pay for it today, but its long-term property of being a hard money. This ties into the next lesson: money. Bitcoin makes you really think about what money is. It's not just pieces of paper or numbers in a bank account. Historically, money has been things that are scarce, durable, portable, divisible, and fungible, like gold, for example. Bitcoin has these properties digitally.
So, it makes you question the very nature of what we consider money. And then there's the history and downfall of money. That sounds a bit ominous.
It's more of a reality check than ominous. Gigi shows how government-mandated currencies often fail over time, while monetary goods that aren't controlled by governments but by the laws of physics tend to survive and hold their value. Gold is the best example. Its value has been consistent for thousands of years. Gigi explains that currencies that can be easily inflated or printed lose their value quickly. Bitcoin, with its predictable and unchangeable supply, stands in contrast to this historical pattern.
That's a powerful historical argument for Bitcoin. What about fractional reserve insanity? That sounds like a critique of our current banking system.
It absolutely is. Gigi is critical of central banks and the fractional reserve banking system, where banks only hold a fraction of deposits and lend out the rest. This system allows for the creation of new money out of thin air, leading to inflation and devaluing people's savings. Bitcoin, with its strictly limited supply, offers a direct alternative to this system. It made me see how our current financial system, while seemingly normal, is actually quite precarious.
So, Bitcoin is the antithesis of that system. And that brings us to the final economic lesson: sound money.
Yes, this is where it all comes together. Gigi argues that Bitcoin is the sly, roundabout way to reintroduce good money to the world. It's not about overthrowing governments violently, but about creating a system that governments simply cannot stop. Bitcoin does this by placing power with the individual through decentralized nodes. It's a system designed to be incredibly resistant to being shut down. It reintroduces the idea of sound money, which is money that holds its value over time because its supply is fixed and transparent.
It's clear that the economic part of the book is a pretty strong critique of traditional finance and presents Bitcoin as a solution. Now, let's move to the last section, technology. This is probably what most people think of when they hear Bitcoin. What lessons does Gigi extract from the technological side?
This section really highlights the genius behind Bitcoin's design. The first lesson is strength in numbers. This relates to the decentralized nature of Bitcoin. The more people who run the Bitcoin software and participate in the network, the stronger and more secure it becomes. It's a collective effort, where the sheer number of independent participants makes it incredibly resilient to attack or control. It's like having millions of eyes watching and verifying everything, rather than relying on one central guard.
That makes sense. Distributed security. What about reflections on don't trust, verify? That's a popular saying in the crypto space.
It's absolutely foundational. Gigi explains that Bitcoin is designed to be trust minimized. Instead of having to trust a bank or a government, you can verify everything yourself using cryptography and the laws of physics. You don't need to trust an intermediary. You can literally check the transactions on the blockchain yourself. It's a radical shift from trust me to prove it. This lesson really drove home for me the importance of individual sovereignty and relying on verifiable facts rather than just faith in institutions.
So, it's about empowering the individual to be their own bank, in a way. What's next? Telling time takes work.
This lesson delves into how Bitcoin's blockchain acts as a decentralized and incredibly reliable time-stomping mechanism. Every 10 minutes, on average, a new block of transactions is added to the chain, creating an immutable record of time. This time-stomping is crucial for the network's integrity and for ensuring that transactions are ordered correctly and can't be double-spent. It's a monumental achievement in distributed systems, guaranteeing a shared, unchangeable history without any central clock.
That's pretty ingenious. And then there's move slowly and don't break things. That seems to go against the move fast and break things mantra of Silicon Valley.
Exactly. Gigi highlights that unlike many tech startups that prioritize rapid growth and iteration, Bitcoin's design philosophy is the opposite. It's built to be stable, resilient, and incredibly difficult to change. This slow, deliberate approach is a feature, not a bug. Because it's dealing with money, you don't want your money system to be constantly changing or breaking. It's a testament to its long-term vision and commitment to stability.
That's a good point. You want stability when it comes to money. How about privacy is not dead? Many people associate Bitcoin with anonymity, but is that truly the case?
While Bitcoin isn't completely anonymous, this lesson explains how it can offer a significant degree of privacy compared to traditional financial systems, where your transactions are often tracked and recorded by central entities. Bitcoin provides pseudonymity, meaning your identity isn't directly linked to your transactions, but the transactions themselves are public on the blockchain. Gigi subtly suggests that with proper practices, Bitcoin can offer more financial privacy than many realize. It's a reminder that privacy is a continuous effort, not a given.
So, it's not truly anonymous, but more private than what we're used to. What's the deal with cypherpunks write code?
This lesson is all about the philosophy that problems are best solved through code and technology, rather than relying on laws or regulations. The cypherpunks were a group of activists who advocated for strong cryptography as a means to achieve social and political change. Bitcoin is a direct product of this mindset. It's a technological solution to monetary and censorship problems rather than trying to lobby governments. It emphasizes building robust, decentralized systems that can operate independently. It's a very empowering idea. If you see a problem, build a solution.
That's a powerful, almost rebellious idea. And finally, metaphors for Bitcoin's future. What kind of future does Gigi envision?
Gigi compares Bitcoin to the internet itself. Just as the internet fundamentally changed how we communicate and access information, Bitcoin has the potential to fundamentally change how we interact with money and value. It's an exponentially growing technology, and watching its ecosystem evolve is like seeing the early days of the internet in fast forward. It reminds us that understanding the past, particularly the history of transformative technologies, is essential for understanding where Bitcoin is heading. The future, Gigi suggests, is just beginning, and it's going to be transformative.
Luke, this has been an incredible journey through 21 lessons. I started with a lot of questions, and while I still have some, I feel like I have a much better grasp on the philosophical, economic, and technological underpinnings of Bitcoin, thanks to your insights and Gigi's fantastic book.
I'm glad I could shed some light on it, Katie. It's truly a book that keeps on giving.
For our listeners, if you want to dive deeper into Gigi's 21 lessons, what I've learned from falling down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, remember to check out the affiliate link in the description below. And that's all the time we have for this episode of Long Story Spoken. Thank you, Luke, for sharing your passion and knowledge with us today.
My pleasure, Katie.
And to all our amazing listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation, please hit that like button. Share this episode with a friend who might be curious about Bitcoin. And of course, subscribe to Long Story Spoken so you don't miss our next deep dive. We appreciate your support.